We're jammed to abandoned buildings. Sees an empty cup we fill 'em. I keep my circle tight, vibe just right with my six string singing all night. Gender, faith, color, or lover, don't matter one way or other. No complaints from music softer. Thanking God for that news. Dad is a doctor. My crew doesn't quit.
5-gallon bucket or a 4-gallon bucket, you will need to drill some holes. And it's just a simple matter of taking a drill and putting it in.
A lot of folks always ask me, do you have to have a hole in it? Yes, of course, you have to have a hole in all your buckets. They don't come with a hole, of course, but I usually drill 5 or 6 holes in the bottom of the bucket.
You have to, this is the most important. You must have drainage holes at the bottom. That's so important. If you don't have drainage holes at the bottom of your bucket, then the water's gonna sit, it's gonna go anaerobic, which means without oxygen, and the roots need oxygen to grow or they're gonna die. So you'll have root rot and that will not be good for your plant. So holes on the bottom, number one, so important.
First thing we encourage everybody to do once they get their bucket is just to go ahead and make sure you drill some holes into the bucket. That's for drainage. That allows for no water loss to happen around the roots of your plants. And that's first and foremost, number one thing that you should do once you get your 5-gallon bucket.
And 1 other seed potato and plant it in our 5-gallon bucket.
And you drill 1 hole 5 inches up. Where'd I drill my hole at? Right there, 1 inch, 1 hole 5 inches up.
All right, welcome everyone to the Eve Growing Concepts. Today's video, we're going to show you how I do my Eve buckets. The videos that I just played earlier, those are people that I follow. I have a great respect for them, but I think there's one thing that they're missing. They shouldn't be drilling all these holes. You need only 1 hole, and you need these amazing grommets that I'll put the link below where I get these rubber grommets. These things have so many applications that we'll be talking about in here at Eve Growing, but let me just show you why it's important just to do 1 hole, especially for you people who live in California and Mexico and all these places that are hurting for water. You do not want to lose this precious irrigation. It's so important for a couple of reasons. One, you're lacking water in the first place, so we should be very concerned of our irrigation being lost. And 2, this irrigation that comes out of these planters is more nutrient rich to be used on the next watering. So you don't want to lose that precious irrigation. This bucket here is a worm farm in a sense. I feed the worms feed the soil as they create good aeration and good drainage. Now I'll just show you how I'm going to water this plant, and then we're going to show you how I make it. So easy. Especially for buckets. As I've said many times in my videos, buckets are valuable. They have so many uses, as many of us urban farmers know. But look for the 90 mil. You'll see it at the bottom. They're all two grade, and there's a couple places where I get mine in a dumpster. I've already talked about this, but it's important because, especially for those who live in colder climates and even hot climates, it only takes a few seasons for these 70 mil or smaller thickness size to just crumble in 2 years. These 90 mil, I've had probably 7 years now outside. I have a bunch of them that I'm not using. I take them and I push them together, and they're still as rugged as the day I picked them up. So let me just show you how I water this, and then I'm going to show you how I build it. And I want you to disregard every video that I did prior to this. I only keep them up just to show the progression of what we're doing here at Eve Growing, where nothing is wasted and all is sacred. So here we go. So here's this one here. And this plant I got last year. I had it in my pool. It's doing so well. And I'll show you the picture after. But here's how I water it. And then water it like that. Right? Just fill it up. There's no such thing as overwatering. Because this thing, as you can see, with the new design, and I want to credit Donny from The Ripple Effect on how this new design has been working very good. He inspired me. It's been a year now since I met with Donny in California, and we built a Dutch bucket system for him. Donny had a thought that he didn't like the fact that the water got stagnant. And I never thought that was a problem. I realized it does smell. You can tell a stagnant water that is lacking oxygen. You can tell, and I knew that it did smell like that, but the plants seemed to do well. But I figured, you know, if there is a problem with anaerobic water, then I certainly want to fix that. So I think this problem does fix it because I can literally drain all the water out. See, the water level's up to the very bottom here. And I can regulate how high I want it. If I'm going to go on vacation for a while, I'll have the water go up to here. So I can go away for a couple of weeks. And this is very important when you're doing tomatoes and stuff like that suck up a lot of water, need a lot of water, especially come August when they're when vacation time is when we go on vacation. I can literally go 2 weeks and not worry about it. Unlike the people who do, I have to give a dog to the hydroponics and aeroponics, of course, when I do my videos because again, in my personal opinion, these growing methods are the direct opposite of how we need to grow. When you're growing in using composted soil, you are stopping all this organic waste from going to the landfill. And when I'm talking about all, I say it in capital letters all the time with parentheses, because in our house, if it's organic, it doesn't leave it. We're going to turn it into soil. So that's the deal. You want your water to flow through, and that's why you have to use composted soil. You just can't use your backyard soil. You have to create it using some of the methods that I've showed. You could use that. Many people show how to make soil. I have a particular method with my CBCB and all our organics fed to our red wigglers. I bring the two together, and that's the soil I have in here right now. Living underground world we have in here where I'm trying to master Mother Earth's best growing condition. And in this phase of the game, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but it must be said, and it'll be said again, for myself, I'm experimenting with using nothing that I have to buy. It's all the stuff that is organic waste that's being thrown away. That's what I'm using. Now, that's not to say you can't use your different fertilizers too while you're doing soil, especially you guys who understand fertilizers. I'm just doing it as an experiment, and so far for me, it seems to be working good. We'll see. One day after I get this phase of Eve growing down, maybe I'll start experimenting with different fertilizers that need to be bought. But for now, if we're trying to live off the grid, if we're trying to be totally self-sufficient, I stick with just the stuff that's being thrown away, the organic waste, so-called waste.
All this so-called organic waste, as I've said, is all the biodiversity that's lost in our outdated growing practices.
Valve, you put it up. So now, see the water coming out now? So now we know the water level. Now we know the water level's at least this high. See it dripping? Oh, wait a minute. Sorry about that. Now we know the water level is this high because it's dripping out. So if I go like this, now, and it stops dripping, it'll be that high. So it's kind of like a valve, right? And again, you want that water to flow through nicely. Look at that. Look at that. And all that rich water. There's a ton of red wigglers in here, as I've said, that are creating awesome fertilizers and creating good drainage and aeration throughout the plant. So this plant is doing wonderful. I got it at Costco last year for, I think, 30 bucks. And I use it as a Christmas tree. And this method, there's no water wasted. So let me go and show you how I build one of these Eve containers, and hopefully you'll see the validity in it. Don't put a bunch of holes in there. Again, all the links to these people I showed at the beginning, I'll put first and foremost. This isn't to dog these people. It's just to show that there's a better way of growing in buckets without putting a bunch of holes where you lose your irrigation. So let's go out back and I'll show you how I build my Eve bucket. All right, these have literally like 7 years old, these buckets. They've been outside here in New England, and look at that. If you did that with a Home Depot or a box store bucket with their unsightly logos, they would crumble. They wouldn't last this long. This is great. And again, these are 90 mil food grade, 90 mil. See it right there? And this has been outside. These will last forever. This is as strong as any Tower Garden plastic that you have to buy. Always got to get that dig in there, don't I? So let's make how I do a very simple Eve bucket where you can turn them into Dutch buckets like I have over there. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is drill a 1-inch hole. Now these grommets, let me see, where's one of my grommets? Oh yeah. These grommets, as I've said earlier, these are awesome. I'll put a link below. They sell other kinds, but these, like the buckets themselves, are invincible. I had these outside many years now, and they're still like the day you first put them in, so you can reuse them. These things will allow you to add aeration inside the bucket, and while stopping the drainage from going all over the place. So let's drill a 1-inch hole. Now on the package it says, on those grommets, it says 1 1/8, but for myself, I do a 1-inch hole, which seems to get a nice tight seal. I try to get as close as I can. Now you got a lip here, so you want to go just above that lip. Right there. That's it, folks. 1 hole is all you need. All right, see how close I went? See how close I went there? All right, now you're gonna put your grommet in there. This. All right. Okay, make sure the inside has it. All right, and now what you wanna do is get your conduit. You could probably use a garden hose if you can't afford this PVC here. These PVC here, very cheap. This is about, I think, well, they've gone up with today's inflation stuff. They've gone up a little bit, but I think I picked up a 10-foot section of this for I think just under $4. Make sure it doesn't have to be the thick kind. The very thin one is what I use, and what I do is I oil it a little bit so it goes in there nice and easy. Just like that. There, put that in like that. And then what I do is I get a elbow. And you put that right on there tight. No glue needed either, folks. No glue. Put this on as tight as you can. All the way down. Right. And then this. And what I do is I use 2. Let me get my bag here. Push that down like that. This goes on like this. So now I can fill this bucket up to here if I want, or keep it down here. So when it's time for me to water my plant, before I water it, I'll make sure all the water's out, Donny, so that gets rid of all that stagnant water. And then when you start again, you put all fresh water. So it kind of looks like that. And let me show you how I fill this bucket, all right?
All right, folks, from here I'm going to try to narrate best I can as the video plays through. I've got these cans, large iced tea cans that are going to be my aeration tubes, and it helps stop any blockage that could occur. Never does the system clog, always does the water flow through freely. So there's a few things I should say right now that we have to buy. We have to buy the grommet and the conduit. So I would say that each bucket, if you get the bucket free, is under $5. If you have to buy the bucket, $10. So I'm just putting a bunch of aeration holes all around, and these 2 cans on top of each other go right up to the top layer of the soil. So air, hopefully the thought is, goes right down through that tube. So no matter how deep the water is, the reservoir is, it's always getting internal aeration. Now this sock is got a little bit of cotton, more synthetic than cotton, I think, and this will last. These socks I reuse over and over, and that just helps from the soil from getting into that can, and only water leaches through there. So, socks are synthetic for the most part, I find. There's very little that the worms break down with that, and I can reuse those again. So I'm going to show you, I got a couple composting rolls that I'm making. This is worm chow. I know I have to do a video dedicated to composting rolls and bio balls, or composting balls, and we'll do that in the very near future. But this is my house compost right there. And I'm going to get some cardboard. Now this cardboard is just amazing. Throw everything in this darn bucket that you think the worms will eat, because it really is more of a worm farm. When we're talking about worm farming, we're talking about putting these heavenly creatures to work, right? especially when they're growing food for us right within the farm itself. So I wet this cardboard and put it into this nutrient-rich water that's come through one of my systems already. And you see I've got 3 buckets there. Oh, let's see here. I got these old pair of jeans, these shorts that don't fit me anymore. They're 100% cotton. I was trying to show you there with the label. Got 3 buckets there. I've got topsoil to the far left. In the middle there, I've got wood chips, and then next to me there is pure worm castings. And right now I'm lining this bin with cardboard. Use what you have. Use what's available. Cardboard is just an amazing thing for growing in buckets because they break down. They get turned into castings. It stops the bucket from heating up for the most part. And cardboard is great. And the worms get in there and they just make it their own little world with all this material I'm putting in here. These shorts, no doubt when I empty this bin out, which will probably be a few years that this will be going on because I got a grapevine that I found in my yard that I dug up and I wanted to plant it. So that's this bin is dedicated just to this small little grape plant that I have, and hopefully it'll have enough room to do something. It's an experiment, of course, like everything. So I always put aged wood chips down first. Having a hard time getting them in there through those pants, but that's why I got rid of them in the first place. I had a hard time getting myself in it. I put some castings in there. Now I'm putting this composting roll in there. The worms are gonna turn all this into castings, of course, and then this material too is a great carbon source, PUD, potential urban duff, right? Throw that in there. This breaks down. Worms love it. And look at it. Very little soil I'm actually putting in there for the most part, right? I'll have to add to it as it breaks down a little bit. I'll have to add a little more tops. I'll add just soil to it. There's some more wood chips that I'm throwing in there. And, fill it the way you want. Use your imagination, what you think the worms will like, because if the worms are happy within this bucket, your plant is definitely going to do good. There goes some topsoil. This is some rich composted soil made from my carbon-based composting bin. More castings, more soil. I'm done. I should be done putting the wood chips in there. So that's about it, folks. Doesn't look like people who look at that bucket say, oh, there's soil in there. Nobody would realize what's actually in that bucket. I should have put that plant in while I was filling it up, but I didn't, so I had to do it after the fact. So that's my little grape vine that I found in the yard, so I thought I'd just give it a try, and that's how I fill it. Use what is available and use your imagination, folks. Now I'm going to show you again, like I did earlier in the video, how you fill this and the water comes right on out. This is, of course, nutrient-rich water that runs through the system and that I'm using to water it again, and that's basically it. And you're done. And you can set these up as Dutch buckets. You can set them up as grow towers. There's so many ways that you can take full control over your gardening efforts. This will be especially important, this system, for inner city growing. Where there is no room to grow, or seemingly there is no room to grow. But thanks to Eve Growing, we can all do our part. There is no excuse. For you inner city people who don't think you have the growing grounds, you have the growing grounds. As I've said many times, it's going to be more advantageous to grow in our inner cities than anywhere else. So now I'm going to add my reds. I got about 10 of them here I'm going to be putting in here. And these farmers will be doing all the work for me. So.
All right, folks, so that's it. That's how I pack a 6-gallon bucket. You can do a 3-gallon bucket. You can do a 5-gallon bucket, any container. That's how you can retrofit it. These grommets are everything. This 55-gallon drum, same principles with all my towers out back. Folks, the world is a mess, and it's going to take each and every one of us to do our part. And our part is to start saving our organics, start composting, start growing food. Thanks to the Eve Growing system, you can go grow food anywhere and everywhere. And I say this once again, that it's more advantageous to grow in our inner cities. And thanks to Eve, you can grow on contaminated parking lots, paved parking lots, rooftops, anywhere and everywhere you can grow. Imagine all of our organics going to our inner cities. Instead of shipping them out to the landfills, we separate all of our organics and we start turning it into soil. These are going to be the jobs of the future. I consider it nothing less than a divine mission of my own to help usher in our agrarian society using today's technology. And I want to give a thanks to all those urban farmers who share their information freely, all the ones at the beginning of this video. I enjoy watching you guys, and again, those links are down below. I'll be doing another video showing these Dutch buckets in the back and these 55-gallon drums. I have a video of how I pack them online. Disregard that video because there's a whole new way of packing this, less parts, and it's just a lot easier, all right? So you folks, I got to get my dig once again. You folks who are going the aeroponics, hydroponics routes, you're missing the mark. You're falling short. That's all I have to say for now. God bless. Over and out.
Me and Papa found cake in it, always somewhere by the fire pit. If your friend and your family ain't free, if you're foe, then tonight is on me. My crew has talent and loyalty, and they'll be partying over these royalties. You're damn right. Like my crew doesn't quit. My crew is so chivalrous. I am a gentleman, you're a lady. That don't mean that tonight won't get crazy. We work hard to play harder. Raise up your glass, be it whiskey or water. Here's to us in our freaking weekend. So yeah, let that party begin, I said. Yeah, let that party begin, I said. Yeah, let that party begin.